Man, I'm so glad that you're taking time to run it back and to take another look at our topic for this past weekend. We're in our face-to-face series, and we're talking about these encounters, these face-to-face meetings that Jesus is having with people in the Gospels. This weekend, we talked about the Samaritan woman at the well in John chapter 4. We know Jesus engaged her against every norm of the day to be able to talk with her about what it was that she was truly putting her hope and her trust and her desire in. And then he does this switch and he offers her living water and says basically, I'm the one that you are really looking for. It's a beautiful moment, and I want to pick up where we left off this past weekend in John chapter 4. We're going to begin in verse 27. Just then his disciples came back. They were shocked to find him talking to a woman, but none of them had the nerve to ask, "What do you want with her?" or "Why are you talking to her?" The woman left her water jar beside the well and ran back to the village, telling everyone, "Come and see a man who told me everything I ever did. Could he possibly be the Messiah?" And so the people came streaming from the village to see him. So Jesus has this face-to-face encounter with this woman. They have this interaction and this exchange, and then the disciples come back with lunch. And the woman knows right away they aren't going to be friends, and so she leaves to go back into town. But in the process, John gives us this little detail. He says that she leaves her bucket behind. Why? Well, I think the simplest explanation is because she didn't need it any longer. She came to this place looking for water, and she left with something better. My wife Jessie and I love to try new restaurants. We love when we do get the opportunity to go out to eat, especially just the two of us. But Jessie's one of those people who will study the menu before we go out. She'll usually know what she's going to order before we even sit down. Now, I do not do that. First, because I'm not that organized and I'm not that purposeful. But second, when I go to a restaurant, I want to ask the server what's good. I'll say, what's the best thing on the menu? Or what is it that you would recommend? Because there might be something amazing on the menu that I don't even know to ask for. People end up in church for different reasons. Some come looking for friendship. Some come looking for guidance at a certain point in their lives. Other people come when their marriage is in trouble or they face some crisis bigger than themselves. Those are all good reasons, and those are important moments. But there's something beautiful that happens many times when people come looking for those things, and that is that they meet Jesus. And when they meet Jesus, they find everything that they were hoping for, but more. We find the thing that we didn't even know to ask for. Just like in that restaurant, we find the thing that we didn't know that we should be asking for. That's why Jesus says to the woman in that conversation that he had with her, if you knew, if you only knew the gift of God and who you were talking to, you would ask for something different. So not only does the woman leave her bucket behind because she has something better, she leaves that bucket behind because she doesn't need it anymore. The bucket was what she brought with her at noonday to draw water. That tiring chore had to be repeated daily, and no matter how much she carried back with her, no matter how much water she would bring back, it would always run out. So when John highlights that little detail that says she left her bucket behind, it was almost as if to show us she wasn't hedging her bets. She was all in. She trusted what Jesus said, and she was acting with that in mind. What would it look like if you trusted Jesus completely? What would it look like if I trusted Jesus completely? Is there a bucket that you would leave behind? Are there places where you're operating maybe with a backup plan for God? Maybe a relationship that you know is supposed to end, but you're afraid to end it. Is it an area of partial obedience that you're hedging in instead of totally trusting God? The woman says, I'm all in, and she leaves her bucket behind. And when she returns to her village, the Bible says she begins to tell everyone about Jesus. One of those details that I love in the story, it's so simple, but it's so beautiful, because when we love something, it's effortless to tell other people about it. We've all known people who are newly in love, and every conversation that we have with that person seems to be steered toward talking about their new love, that other person in their life. Think of how excited you might be when you're going to share a great movie recommendation with a friend. It's just easy to share about what we love. The Samaritan woman has a simple model for her evangelism. She's not even trying to evangelize. She's not trying to share Jesus. She simply has been caught up in this moment, and she says, "Come and see. Come and see the person who has changed my life." This Easter, we're all praying for God to create opportunities for us to invite a family member, a friend, a coworker, or a neighbor to one of our Easter services or events or get-togethers at New City, just to simply say, "Come and see what God is doing." So I'm going to ask you, who can you invite to come and see? We don't need to make it more complicated than that. We don't need to add other layers to it. Just simply come and see. Jesus is living water to a thirsty world, a world that is choking on so many temporary joys, so many half-truths, and we have found the answer. Jesus, who is better than our best hopes. It's why we can leave those old wells behind. It's why we can set aside those half-hopes and invite others to experience the living water that has changed our lives.